Michael Jackson was the eighth child in the famous Jackson family out of, I think, 10, which makes him, of course, one of the youngest. I believe he joined the family band in 1964, aged 6. And a lot has been said about this band and about the role their father played in this. I'm just going to say that he was a strong disciplinarian, which had a negative effect on Michael at the time. He performed, this is Michael Jackson, performed and recorded with Jackson 5 and the Jacksons for the next 20 years, quickly becoming a lead vocalist and later their main songwriter. He released his first solo album as a teenager in 1972. His 1979 album Off the Wall was a big breakthrough for him and sold very well. His next album, Thriller, which was released in 1982, was the best-selling album ever in the world. He has released a total of 10 solo albums before his death in 2009. He was immensely rich, but had quite a troubled life. He drew attention for high-profile friendships, for cosmetic surgery, and for the lightening of his skin. He was also alleged, it was alleged 3 times that he had sexually abused minors. It is something that needs to be talked about, but here are some things that I want to say about that. So the first one is that nothing was proven despite many efforts. I don't believe in the there's no smoke without fire approach to these things. I do believe in innocent until proven guilty. I don't approve of trial by media. And I think it is plausible that he was targeted by opportunists. I have very carefully not said whether I think he did or didn't do anything, but I think on balance, it's it would be I would be tending to give him the benefit of the doubt in this case. Hi, my name's Dan, and this is a review of the album Dangerous by Michael Jackson, which was released in 1991 and was his 8th solo studio album. I have a copy of this, but have not listened to it particularly often at all. Some of the songs are quite familiar for me, mostly because they received airplay. I was surprised by how much I liked this. So yeah, I've always kind of approached Michael Jackson with mixed feelings. I think I am guilty of poking fun at him at times when he was alive. And I had respect for him, but I poked fun at him. I liked some of his songs, not all of them, and so I was kind of selective. Um, the so Acclaimed Music, which is the list that I'm looking from. Right, that gives me an excuse. I need to talk about the list. I am reviewing my way through a list of the 3,000 greatest albums of all time that was created by a website called Acclaimed Music. It is not my list. It has been done by Amalgamating Critic Lists. If you want to know more, go and look at it. I'm going up from the bottom upwards, and I'm just over a third of the way through. So for every album listed there, they also list genres, but they're listed genres which are contemporary R&B and pop. Are not hugely helpful. They're kind of broad, I think. So I'm going to home in a bit more. I know genre descriptions and definitions are sometimes a bit kind of artificial and spurious, but I think this might be helpful here. So I'm going to bring out New Jack Swing, pop soul, and gospel. Slightly surprising, that last one. There's a rich collection of songs on here. About half of these are in the dancey pop style that was and still is known as New Jack Swing. So this was a street sound from maybe from New York, if I'm right. And I associate it thoroughly with Janet Jackson's album Rhythm Nation 1814, which may have been one of the first high-profile albums that used New Jack Swing a lot, and it's kind of full of it. So it's to describe it is quite specific stylistically, actually. So it's got a certain speed. Most of the songs that I've come across that are New Jack Swing are this particular speed. It's got synth bass, yeah, and sample stings, so like chords and things coming through it. It's got quite it's got a slightly swung rhythm, which is presumably what got swing in it. So I'm just going to embarrass myself by demonstrating some rhythms here. So a straight rhythm is digga 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 dig. Okay, and a swung rhythm is digga dig digga digga dig. So it's technically it's like in 6/8 rather than in 4/4. But a slightly swung rhythm is digga 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 dig. So it's got a little bit of that movement of that second thing, but not fully on as a full swung rhythm. And so some New Jack Swing has a bit of that in. And the other thing that it seems to have is a particular bucket like snare sound. It sounds like you've got a metal bucket, turn it upside down, and hit it with a stick. Uh, it's quite a nice snare sound. That sounds like it's disparaging, but it's not. So I really like New Jack Swing. I think it's a very groovable kind of feel to stuff. So, say about half the tracks are this, and mostly they're on kind of the first half. And it feels a bit like you've got a half, almost like the kind of traditional album that's split into two because you've got two sides of the vinyl. It feels like you've got a whole load of New Jack Swing, and then you've got a whole load of other style songs, mostly slower. It does finish with Dangerous, which is another New Jack swing song, and not all of them are. It's not quite as clear cut as that. To highlight a few other tracks on here, we've got "Keep the Faith," which is very gospel sound. We've got "Will You Be There," which is my favourite track on the album, despite the fact that I really like the New Jack Swing stuff. Which reminds it's got a choir and it's used absolutely beautifully, and it's got this really uplifting sequence of chords and notes, which reminds me a bit of the humming chorus from Madame Butterfly. And don't let that lead you into thinking that I'm highly cultured. I just happen to have come across that. Heal the World is pop soul. Less bothered for that. Black or White is a more straightforward dance pop um, song. Most of the first half, as I said, is New Jack Swing and pop themes like romance and girls, but it's got Why You Want to Trip on Me, which is about people focusing on his life rather than themselves or other people. The second half is more social conscience stuff. Now, so things like "Heal the World," which is a very well-known song, but several others in there that have got stuff about messages of positivity, but of social things. Now, in retrospect, now this seems very Michael Jackson, but apparently this was the first album where it really had a huge presence on the album. Um, for me, some of those tracks feel a bit on the nose. It also feels a bit like those messages are carefully crafted and calculated. I can understand why somebody would feel the need to do that. And most of the writing here is by Michael Jackson. But this is no matter how successful this was going to be, it was going to be a high profile album. And he has been under a lot of criticism for a lot of things at this point. So I think it's not surprising that it feels like he's being really careful with how he says things. And so they come across, they're very positive. They're things that is very easy to agree with. And it's not really confrontational in any way. I think maybe that's what I'm thinking. Um, his singing is fine. He's Michael Jackson. He's widely regarded as having a very good voice, and I would agree with that. It's musically nicely put together. It's very polished, but it doesn't lack for feel because of that. So it won't kind of feel. None of it will feel raw. And so Black or White's got a kind of bit of rock guitar in it, but it doesn't have the kind of grittiness or oomph that rock has. But I wouldn't expect that in Michael Jackson stuff. As I said before, the New Jack Swing goes down really well with me. It's been done really well. It's been produced by an expert in that style of music, those bits. Some of the gospely bits also go down well. The slushier soul stuff, less so. I'm not a huge fan of slushy soul. Excuse me. So, I think it's a well-crafted album, and I enjoyed it quite a lot. And I was surprised, as I said, by how much I enjoyed it. Um, well, that's only my opinion, and at this point, I'd love to engage with you guys and girls and aliens from the planet Zorg or whoever you happen to be. Please leave me a comment telling me what you think of this album, because I'd love to know. But that's it from me for now.
Hold me like the river Jordan, and I will then say to thee, you are my friend. Carry me like you are my brother. Love me like a mother.